Some of these books haven't even come out yet and they already have me in a chokehold. Here are a list of my most anticipated reads for 2025, and if they disappoint me, I'm prepared to crash out. So let's talk about all the books that are on my radar and why you might want to add them to your TBR too. We are starting off strong with Catabis by R.F. Kuang. This book comes out August 26th of this year, and this is probably my most anticipated read of the year. I am quite literally counting down the days for this book to come out because I cannot wait to do a reading vlog for this, but I have some lore. About this. I actually already own Catabis. I got it at Shelves in the City when we went to LA, and I am a little bit devastated, just a little bit, not gonna crash out here, maybe. R.F. Kuang was literally in the vicinity. She was nice enough to sign a bunch of copies and we were able to take them home and put them in boxes. For some godforsaken reason, I didn't think about taking Catabis out of the box and sending it home with me when I went back home directly. Instead, I put it in the box and waited until it shipped, and I still have not received my box of books. So I am quite literally trying not to slide down walls and punch the air because I cannot believe I made a rookie mistake. I hope my box is okay. I am literally terrified. It's been 3 weeks since we went to the event and I still don't have my box, so I'm really scared. Hopefully everything's fine and I still have my copy, my signed copy. But who knows? I'm not crying, you're crying. Pay past me. Dang. Stop crashing out. We got the box of books, and here is Catabis. I understand what you're going through, but you need to breathe, babe. You need to breathe. There's people out there dying, Kim. And in this book, it follows Alice Law. She is a girl on a mission. She is not playing around. She has spent her entire life trying to be the brightest mind in the field of magic, which is something that she's studying in Cambridge. And she has quite literally sacrificed everything to be there, specifically to work with Professor Jacob, who is the best magician in the world. That is until he dies from a magical accident that just might be her fault. Dang. Professor Jacob is quite literally now in the depths of hell, and she is determined to go get him to save her career as well as save him, because she is not going to let anything keep her from achieving her dreams, and his recommendation alone could really get her there. However, she's not the only one thinking this way. Her rival, Peter Murdoch, has come to the same conclusion, and so it's kind of a race between them to try to figure out who's going to save him first, and that just sounds so incredible. I love that she always leans into either history or dark academia, and I've read plenty of her books before, but I feel like this is one, because I haven't read Babel, this is one that is completely different from the other books that I've read, and I'm really excited to get to it. So as soon as my box of books comes, that is the first book I will be reading, and I want to read it before it actually comes out in August, but we're just gonna hope for the best that UPS stops playing with me, because I really want my signed copy of Catabis right now. The second book I'm most excited to read this year is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This actually comes out April 22nd. Today is April 14th, so it's literally within a week it's gonna be coming out, so I'm really excited. I was not a big Emily Henry fan until Funny Story, but now and Emily Henry we stand, and Emily Henry we trust, so whatever she writes moving forward, I'm going to read. I did hear though that this book is not necessarily like her other romances. It more focuses on contemporary literature and literary fiction, which is right up my alley, so I feel like this is going to be the best of both worlds. I feel like she does a good job of balancing literary fiction with romance anyway, but apparently, one of my friends read it already, apparently it's even more so than the other books, so I'm really interested to see what this is about. All I know right now is that the book is about Alice Scott and Hayden Anderson. They are both writers vying for the same position. Now Alice, she has big dreams of being a really good writer, but Hayden is already a well-known writer. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he doesn't really have much to win except to prove that he's better than Alice. And they're both on Little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman who hasn't been seen in years. She is a ridiculous celebrity who has been in the tabloids, who has had so many different scandals throughout the years, but no one really knows her story, and she wants to fully tell her story to one of these authors, and they are fighting for the same job. Now this sounds very much like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, written by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read that book when we initially started getting back into reading, and I absolutely loved it. So the fact that this sounds very reminiscent to that makes me so excited to read this book. I think what's really interesting about this is the fact that she gives them 1 month to prove themselves, and all three of them are stuck on this island. It is literally Alice and her perception of Margaret and her story, and then it's Hayden and his perception of Margaret and his story for her. And then it's also this other element of romance, so I'm really interested to see how Emily writes this book, because if this one is good, I fear I must read all of her other books, and that's just going to open an entire new can of worms because I did not expect to be her #1 fan, and yet here I am. Another book that I literally cannot wait to read is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I read a single book by her, and that was enough for me to know that I love this woman, and that book is The 7-Year Slip. That is a book that we read last year, and it could not have been more perfect. It was so good, and I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook just did it for me because, hear me out. It is about this girl who lives in New York City. She has this magical apartment that was left to her by one of her family members, and this apartment is not just a regular New York City apartment. This apartment allows you to go 7 years into the past, and when she goes back 7 years into the past, she meets this Southern chef living in New York City that is in love with her. Have you heard of anything better? I don't think so. This book literally had me in a chokehold, and his accent in the audiobook almost undone me. Almost undid me. Undone, undid. I was on. It was so good. I was giggling, kicking my feet, and it's not just about love. It was about grief. It was about self-discovery, and I just love that she kind of has this like Allie Hazelwood thing about her because her books are always like love with a little bit of magical realism, and that's what we're getting from this book as well, so I cannot wait to read it. Now, I know Allie Hazelwood doesn't do that, but Allie Hazelwood has her own thing. She's like, my thing is love and science, and for Ashley Poston, it's love and magic. I just love that she has a thing, you know what I mean? It kind of gives me, as the reader, something to expect, so I have really high hopes for this book as well. But this one isn't about a Southern chef. This one instead is about Joni Lark. She is the queen of songwriting. Everyone goes to her whenever they need a song written. However, right now in her life, she just feels like she can't write anything. There's an emptiness inside her that just can't be filled. So she decides, you know what, I need to take a step back and go back to my roots. So she goes back to her hometown in North Carolina that's right next to the shore. There's sand, there's beach, there's fresh air, and she thinks that this is exactly what she needs to get her mind right. But when she gets back home, nothing is like how she left it. Her best friend is avoiding her. Her mother is losing her memory, and very quickly. And the shop that her mom and dad owned when she was younger is now closing. She feels lost. She doesn't know what to do. Until one day she hears a melody in her head, and it's accompanied with a voice. Now, at first she thinks she's crazy. She's like, where is this coming from? I've never heard this before. Until the guy that she's been hearing in her head comes to Vienna Shores, her hometown. Now, she thought that she was crazy, but he's hearing the same thing. And he decides to break whatever connection they have together. They need to finish this song together. The only caveat is they kind of hate each other. So they have to go through the process of getting through that hate and getting through their annoyance with each other and trying to break whatever connection this is. And in the process, they obviously end up falling in love. And that just sounds so beautiful. It's such a unique way of looking at romance, and I'm really excited to delve into this story. But I unfortunately have a long way to go before this book comes out. This book doesn't come out until June 17th, so I'm just gonna have to keep rereading The 7-Year Slip until this one comes out. Or in the meantime, I can read Beg, Borrow, or Steal, and this is by Sarah Adams, which is the same author who wrote When in Rome, which I read last year and immediately rated 5 stars. This was a slow burn with absolutely no spice, and yet I ate it up. So I immediately read the second book, which is Practice Makes Perfect. Now with that book, it kind of fell short for me. It was not the 5-star that I thought it was going to be. It was actually only 3 stars, which isn't bad. It just wasn't on the same level as When in Rome. So this is her redemption arc. This is where I see if this is just as good as When in Rome, or I'm kind of just done with the series. I really like this series though because it's an interconnected standalone. They all have to do with the sisters of the male main character from When in Rome, and we get to see their love story play out. So this one is actually for Emily Walker, the eldest sister who just happens to be a 2nd grade teacher. Now, even though she's a teacher, she's secretly also a romance writer on the side, but no one knows that except her nemesis Jack Bennett, who is also a 2nd grade teacher. Now at first she didn't have to deal with Jack because Jack moved away about a year ago with his fiance, and she thought that she was done dealing with him. However, suddenly he's back in this new school year without a fiance, and he is now her neighbor, so she has to see him not only at work but also at home. And so she tries to create a plan to get him to move away once again. However, this plan kind of backfires because she accidentally sends an email to the principal of the school that she works at about the book that she's working on, and the only person who can help her get that email back is of course Jack Bennett. So they have to work together because he miraculously said that he would help her, and they have to get through their hate for each other to try to help her stay hidden as a writer. But he is also a writer and she doesn't know it, so that's really interesting. I feel like that synopsis alone just has so many like juicy pieces, and I want to really break down this story. And because I've seen seen Emily as a secondary character in 2 books already, I'm really invested in her love story and seeing her get her happy ending. So I literally can't wait. And y'all already know, enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers is just my bread and butter. And she seems to be giving me exactly what I need. So I'm very excited for this one. And the best part is I don't have to wait for this book because this book actually already came out January 7th of this year. So while I'm waiting for the other ones to come out, I can just read this. So it's probably going to be in our TBR for next month. What won't be in our TBR for next month is Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which is the second book in the Bride series, because this one isn't coming out until October 7th of this year, so I've got a long way to wait. Now I will say Ali Hazelwood is kind of a guilty pleasure author for me. A lot of her books are hit or miss. They're either really, really good or just like okay. I've never had a terrible book by her, but they're not always the best, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But I feel like she will always be an author that I go back to just because, as I mentioned, she always balances romance with science, and I am a science girly through and through, so I love when I can meet both of these worlds together, and she just gives that to me relentlessly. She writes so much. She never stops writing. She literally is always coming out with a new book, so how can I say no? And with Bride that came out last year, it was a scientific rendition of vampires and werewolves, so naturally I ate it up. And when I heard that the second book was coming out this year, just when Bride came out last year, you know I had to add it to my TBR list because this book focuses on the best friend of the main character of Bride, Serena. And Serena is half human, half werewolf, and she's the first of her breed. And she thought that coming out as the first hybrid would kind of connect all of these different creatures, the humans, the vampires, the werewolves, but instead it just made tensions higher. And the only one who can sufficiently keep her safe is the alpha werewolf of the Northwest Pack, Cohen Alexander, someone who is absolutely infatuated with her, who has pretty much imprinted on her, but she doesn't feel the same way. But that doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
No one is going to question his authority, and he is dedicated and committed to keeping her safe, whether she reciprocates those feelings to him or not. And that just sounds so juicy, so good, and I'm really hoping that when we follow her story, we get to check in on the characters that we fell in love with from the first book in Bride. But to switch gears just a little bit, another book that I'm super excited to read this year is The Memory Collectors. Now this book doesn't come out until May 13th, but it's completely different than all the other romances that I'm really excited to read. Now I've never read anything by this author, but he is a well-known film and television producer, so that was enough for me. And this book is supposed to give the vibes of Before the Coffee Gets Cold and The Paradox Hotel. So it's about time travel, murder, mystery, thriller. It's basically genre bending. There's so many things going on, but they all sound really good. But in this book, we focus on 4 strangers, complete strangers who are all from the town Ventura, California. With these strangers, they're all desperate to go back in the past, and when they're given the opportunity to spend 1 hour in the past, they all have different reasons for doing so. Elizabeth is trying to go back into the past to spend 1 more hour with her son who passed away in a senseless accident. Andy is desperate to find his first love who vanished after a whirlwind romance. Logan craves the rush of surfing and mountain climbing, something he hasn't felt since his accident that led him into being in a wheelchair. And lastly, Brooke is just trying to get away from the oppressive guilt that she feels from a really bad mistake that she made, an unforgivable mistake. Now enter Eon Expeditions. This is a company that guarantees these 4 strangers that you can go into the past for 1 hour without ruining or messing up the future. Now this is a business and invention created by Mark Saunders, the same person who used to be married to Elizabeth, the woman who wants to go back in time to see her son. But when these 4 strangers go back into the past and their hour extends past the 60 minutes, they realize that some other sinister things are at play here because they are now stranded there in the past. And while we follow that story, we realize that they are actually somehow connected in this town in some way on that very night that everything changed for them. And we get to follow that story and figure out why. Now this book sounds like it's all about second chances, grief, and mistakes, and it just sounds so good. I feel like I have been waiting to read a book that is going to tear me apart in this way, and this feels like the perfect book to do so. And I don't have to wait very long because this book actually comes out May 20th of this year. Now last but not least on my list is a book that I actually just bought not too long ago, and it's Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Now you guys know we are an Abby Jimenez stan, we are an Abby Jimenez fan, we always have been. Every book that I've read from this woman has always been 4 stars or higher, except for that one weird time where we read Life is Too Short and it was like a 3-star, but we don't talk about her. This was just like a blip in her past. It's fine, everything's fine. And so with this one, I'm really excited because it's not like it's connected to any of her other books. It's a completely new book and a completely new story. And it talks about the perfect guy. Not only is he devilishly handsome, he looks like a Greek god, but also he is a veterinarian and he loves pets and animals. However, even the perfect guy can make some mistakes, and when he speaks to Samantha the first time, they have a really rocky start. He says something that is pretty much unforgivable, and she doesn't think that there's anything that he can do to fix it. However, she is like, you know what? I'll give you a second chance. I'll let you make this right. And from there, they go on an incredible date. One for the books, dare I say. They both literally cannot forget it. However, when Xavier wants to move things forward, she's like, you know what? My family is going through a lot right now. I literally have no time, no emotional capacity to deal with this right now or to try to foster this relationship. I have to go. But please remember this day as the perfect night that it was and just forget about me. However, as time goes on, neither one of them can forget about each other, and we just follow that story. Now, this book came out April 1st of this year. It's already April 14th. So again, I do have it. I just haven't read it yet, but I am super excited to get to it. I love Abby's books because it's never just romance. There's always some really huge, hard-hitting life lesson that I always need, that always finds me at the right time. So I know she's going to do me justice. It may hurt a little bit, but I know that it's going to be a lesson that I need to hear, and I cannot wait to see what she's going to teach me, all while I get to kick my feet and giggle a little bit. Now, I will say those are the 7 books that I'm definitely most excited for this year, but I do have 2 honorary mentions as well. The first one is Mark Twain by Ron Chernow. This comes out May 13th, and it's all about the life of this incredible writer. And it's not just the life that we already know about him. It's like the deep dive version of it, and I already love documentaries, so I'm like, why not do a book version of a documentary? And this just sounds really interesting, so I'm very excited for this one. And last but not least is Dream Count. This is a book that came out March 4th, so it's already out. I just need to buy it. I actually think I've seen it the last few times that I was in Barnes. I just didn't have the money or the time to actually pick it up again.
With your broke ass.
But now this is something that's definitely on my radar. Now, all of these books sound like they have the potential to be a 5 and 6-star read for me, and there's nothing better than the hope of finding a book like that. So I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that these books live up to the hype for me. But I'll update you guys throughout the year as I read them. But now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments below what books you're most excited about reading this year. What books have you already read that came out this year that were really good? Let me know in the comments down below so I can add them to my TBR. And with that, I'll let you guys go, but I love you so much and I can't wait to see you in the next video.